question. Could you please state your name and occupation?
My name is Jeffrey Kirkland. I'm 65 years old. I've been in York for 65 years. Right now, I'm semi-retired. I have a part-time training position working with Crispus Addicts Senior Community Service Employment Program as a program site monitor and a job developer.
Okay. Number two, how many years were you involved in the New York City School District?
Huh. Officially, as an official, I was 9 years as president of the school board. I've been involved for many years, over that 20 years or more. I did part of my master's thesis by doing research on this York City School District. My master's thesis was on um, um, uh, improving academic achievement of African American males. And I did like a research project for about a year to get prepared for that 2-year master's program.
Okay. Three. Explain the differences of charter schools and public schools.
Well, there's just some differences. There's a lot of similarities. There's two different type of charter schools. There's the just the local non-profit charter schools, such as they have started one downtown there, that York Academy, and then there's the the for-profit charter schools. For-profit charter schools are the ones that seem to catch all the controversy and the ones that we were particularly fighting against in the community. As part of my master's thesis, I looked at charter schools, when they started out in Minnesota and other places, and they were pretty successful. And if done right, charter schools could provide a reasonable, effective academic channel for students in the community. But there seems to be a move by what I call predatory people to come in and take advantage of issues related to poor people to try to take over their education system. Saying that they're going to provide better education, but in effect, really in there just for a profit.
Okay. What do you feel is the agenda of those looking to profit from the takeover?
Specifically that, just profit. Some of the better charter schools, you look at charter schools and you see examples of them across the nation. Schools out in Chicago and different things, it's charters just for African American males. And they're graduating everybody. They're providing an adequate, enriching curriculum. The charter schools that come into town, and you could tell one that's not really for kids because they come in and they want to try to provide a better version of the same curriculum that our schools are providing. Our kids need a different type of curriculum now. They're giving them what I call an 8-track education in a digital world, MP3 world now. And we need to be providing the kids with education that's going to help them elevate themselves in today's world. The charter school I was getting ready to give an example about, the one out in two of them out in Chicago. One of them is just for black boys and black males, and they send a lot of their guys to college. The other one was for any black students, but it was strictly a technical school where they're learning programming, computer programming, writing, all that type of thing. So when they come in with some type of and charter schools here were supposed to do that. They weren't supposed to come in and replicate what our regular schools have. They were supposed to come in with something new, and dynamic, outside the box. But they, nobody just overseeing them or, guarding them, and they come in and do what they want.
Okay. How do you feel about the few that look to make the most from the takeover? And if you have any specific names of people who you know.
Well, the few is, the people that run these charters. I think that's typically their agenda. I think it's been proven out. These charters came in. We fought them. I was president of the board, and we did not. We voted against the charters when they first came in. And the governor forced them in. And the state signed their charters. Lincoln, Edison, and New Hope's first charter. The state forced them into the community because the school board here voted against them. The second time around, they just voted on the contract, let them have the second, addition to their contract, extension of their contract. But at first, we said no, and the state came in and signed the contracts and put them in. And part of the agenda was to destabilize, I think, the local school district and urban school districts across Pennsylvania, are suffering the same problems and all. When they first started to come here to York, Dr. Jack Van Newkirk was superintendent. I was just becoming president of the board, and he wanted to bring them in as a method to break the union. The union they had locked control on what was happening in the schools, and a lot of the union people in the community saw it as a problem because they were mostly white ladies and all lived outside of town, and people felt that they did not care about our kids. We had some good teachers, don't get me wrong and all, but that was the general consensus in town, that these people were outside of town, they were here to get money, and they weren't willing to do the things necessary, like stay after school, tutor our kids, go to special events. They had to the point where in their contract, they would have sections that say we're only required to attend a certain amount of events. Now see, with that type of attitude, you don't win. Successful charter schools are the charter schools where teachers will stay there and they'll go to whatever events because that's their passion. That's what they want to do. And all. But back then, he was trying to break the union. But then when he saw, I think, some other issues with charters, for-profit charters, he tried to pull out and was not supporting those. But the charter, Lincoln Edison had already been in. They already got their hooks in and got a little taste of possibly the money they could make. And they got this group of teachers up there. They had 17 teachers at Lincoln at the time, and 11 of them was new teachers. And the principal, I can't remember his name now, but he was a wheeler dealer. He left, and he came back to our system after a while. But he told them that, look, if you don't vote for this charter, you're not going to have a job next year. And they were, just new teachers and everything. So they just needed a certain amount of teachers and a certain amount of parents to sign a petition to take over that school. And 11 of those 17 teachers signed. And whatever amount of parents, we went to court, to count the parents and all like that to sign. But like I say, the parents were frustrated. They wanted something new anyway, so they were signing because they thought they was getting something better. Yeah. And they ended up taking over the school. Like I said, it was the first time in the history of Pennsylvania that a for-profit charter school had taken over a public school building. And they did not want to pay rent. We had to go to court, Commonwealth Court, to get them to pay rent for the building that the taxpayers were paying for. So.
Okay, getting more specific here. You have been very vocal about Isaiah Anderson and his running of the charter schools. Do you feel that he has effective leadership and staff to run the schools he has? Because from just what we see, these people aren't too well in the field. If that, or educated, any degrees, where they come from, per se.
Isaiah, he had a few people, that were credentialed. Now whether they're, like I said again, charter schools were designed supposedly to improve the education, particularly in minority areas, urban areas and all. You don't see charters in these other areas, in the Caucasian areas out in the county and all. So, with that being said, some of those people, although they were credentialed, they were not the right people to be running these charters. They sort of placated, they made a thing about how satisfied the parents were, and with the success that students were making. But you find out when we did assessments of their curriculum and things, and their programs in their class, the rigor in those programs, we find out that it was lacking. That they might have been giving students, 8th grade students, 6th grade work, and because the students are coming home with A's and B's and that, the parents will say, "Oh, my child is so successful here in this school, much more successful," and then they don't call home, because they try to deal with the program and the kids in school, the problem kids. The parents were delighted. It was taking them. Our parents, I hate to say it, sometimes our parents like when other people take the responsibility off of them, and they could just sort of shirk the responsibility. That's part of our issue. If we ever do stay here with regular schools in York, our parents need to do a better job of stepping up and being involved with that. But to say that some of the people weren't credentialed, one of my pet peeves about that charter school there that Isaiah ran is he did have some good people. Some of those younger guys, Brandon D. Shields and the little Harris guy, those guys that really knew how to bond with our kids. They didn't have master's degrees or teaching certificates and all, but they were the type of people that will help motivate our kids to get to the learning mode, to where they're ready to learn, and they felt that they cared about them. I was hoping that the city district could hire those people. There were some good people in that school. Some of them they did hire. Miss Eva, she's over at Hennepin. A few of the people they did hire. But the York City School District could benefit from the good people that were at his school. I'd say maybe half and half. The technical staff, the credential staff, I didn't think they were the ones necessary to run an improved charter school. Now, their line staff, the people that really interacted with the kids, for what they were there for, I think they were good people. I think and the kids still, the kids still talk about them and they love them. That was where the kids' love of that school came from, because those people were the ones giving them that love back and trying to bring them up in the school. Now, Isaiah and those guys, I know he just, it's just how you do it. Capitalist, you put people around you, that's going to protect you. That's going to hold the line, not going to say anything about what's going on. I know he had a couple people they left out of there and they fell out. Sam, I think it ended up firing Sam for some kind of reason. My good friend, we worked in an alternative school myself, mission home with Keith Beatty, me and myself and Reverend Moses Smith. We were counselors and administrators in the school, but Moses got a job with Isaiah running the Challenge Academy. You know Moses? He's a good guy to talk with, because Isaiah hired him up there and all like that. Moses is a minister and all. But him and his wife, they ended up almost breaking up over this whole debacle, because Isaiah befriended them and he would take them on trips, out in Arizona and down in the Bahamas and different things. And the day that the school district cut them loose, said the court said they have to close, Isaiah started cutting his losses and cutting people off. I mean, it's almost like this one movie. I don't know if you ever saw this movie, She Hate Me, Spike Lee movie and all, where his brother lost his job and all like that. So as soon as he lost his job, they cut his cell phone off, cut his stipend off. It was almost like he threw all his boys out, even though he made millions of dollars over those years and all. He did not really take care of his people and all. It's only his closest people out here they taken care of and all. So.
Okay. The court itself seems to be run like Ponzi scheme, disguised as a non-profit organization with unqualified people to run all these businesses. What's your overall feeling on what if any do these people help the community basically outside of the school?
Well, in my opinion, no. To some degree, and I know one of the reasons that they prosper is the power structure here. It's hard to become part of the power structure here in York. You have to really convince these people that you're a team player. That you could be part of the team and all like that. And you can get some doors open to you because they're looking for minorities. You don't see a lot of minority entrepreneurs, all in here coming into York. Isaiah, he had a good mind. Cat's smart now. Don't get me wrong about Isaiah. He's a business guy. He's always been doing this. I don't know if you researched into his background with CA and with the school district and with York Country Day, all the things that happened with those entities. But it seemed like that his capitalist mode always overrode his community conscience, as far as doing something good. But when you come in here like that, people looking for a black business person that they could back, the corrupt power boys here, they love a guy like Isaiah because look, we can get in bed together, we can share whatever the profits are. I mean, he got Grace out there at that building. I don't know if you've been out there by his office out there. The guy sort of, I don't know, when he first started, it was sort of like gratis, let you get here to start up and all like that. It's a beautiful place out there that they gave him, and set up. And then when he got set up with his individual businesses, he's able to pay those guys and all. And I understand from that article in the paper, the banks loosen up the money. When you got those type of businesses, the bankers, he had a banker on his board, I think from Prospect Bank or one of the banks and all. Like, it was at M&T that was the guy was on the board. He should be locked up also because he had plenty of conflict of interest, action, voting's on there, money going to them, without, abstaining on stuff. But when you show them that you're a team player and all, the doors will open up, and you could people would say he's benefiting the community because I think he's still got businesses running. I don't know how many people are here. I think he runs this coffee shop downtown here, and there's some good things that go on in there. The stick and move programs and different things from what I hear. But overall, for the amount of dollars he got out of the community in that short amount of time, No, he wasn't a blessing to this community, I don't think.
Now, we've been hearing about a military form of discipline at the school.
At the charter school.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what type of they had there. But I do know that he got in trouble again with the school board because he was getting a contract from the school district to take kids over to his charter school to educate them. And when he ran into problems, like all schools do if you don't deal with the main problems of disorderly kids, when the kids get disorderly in his program, instead of telling the school district, hey, we're having problems with this school, what can you do with him? He slid him right around into his other program, into the 3-chord program.
Yeah.
I know you guys probably read about that if you was doing research on it. That was outside of the contract. He was not supposed to be doing that. They did not have an agreement to take our kids and put them into his school, and when he wasn't successful, throw them into the alternative school. So he could continue getting those dollars and keep getting money for him and all that.
Okay. Do you feel that discipline is the way to teach the students right from wrong, and are using? Hold on. Next question. You lead the vote to have Isaiah Anderson Charter School revoke. Once his term was up, it was a long process to have finalized. Could you take us through that?
I don't understand the question.
When the charter was not renewed,
Right, cancel.
all the back and
Oh,
forth.
yeah.
and-
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's through the appeals process. The school board, just like I said, when we voted them down, the school board doesn't hold a lot of power. The power is the charter school appeals board. The school board automatically, we were shutting them down. We said no. So the next step is them to go to the appeals board. And the appeals board, when Ridge was in there, was made up of pro-charter people, conservative, Republicans and all. And they, kicked it back to us and said, well, we feel that this guy should be open. And the school board continued to appeal that. You'd have to go through several different appeals. They can go back to the school board, the charter appeal board for the first time. And the charter appeal board, I think, the second time they went to them, they voted them down, I think unanimously. And then that's when you get involved in the legal situation in the courts. After that, you got 2 opportunities to go through the Commonwealth Court, for the first ruling and then for an appeal. And Isaiah and them they lost all 4 of those, I think, in, I don't know if he's talking, no, they talked about going somewhere else to the Supreme Court or something, but they didn't want to hear that. I didn't think they knew they didn't want to waste any more dollars and all. Mm-hmm. But they give them every opportunity, for appeals, to go through, even, like I say, the school board has the least power. As far as saying yay or nay. They can get the ball rolling by saying nay, but they can be overridden by any of those, the appeals board or the Commonwealth Court.
Okay.
And typically that's what happened here in the community here with Lincoln and with New Hope. And Thaxton and those guys, it's a similar story with those. Those guys, you don't see the horror stories of the money like that, but they get money out of there also and all. The different thing about this is corporate money going out of there versus Isaiah was a total corporation for New Hope. Everything was going to him, here. But they're not functioning. Thaxton is not functioning, they should not be operating also. They're not functioning any better, than the school district, marginally better than some of the schools, but marginally better than New Hope. But it's the same situation and it's harming the district also because the dollar's going out. They had the same problem. The first two weeks of the year, they had more police over there than they did at York High, for the fights and all that type of thing that go on over there. They got Sherry and those guys over there now, and they're trying to build a community-friendly environment for the kids. But, the charter schools, if you don't deal with the primary social problem, the poverty and all out here, once you open the charter school, they reach a tipping point. And that tipping point is once they get enough students similar to the York City School District, they're going to start facing the same problems that the school district is facing. You know what I mean? And they've reached that tipping point there, and they deal a lot with discipline and disorderly kids over there at that school. And like I say, their academic achievement is marginal at best. There's another charter school it's a different type of charter school, Crispus Attucks, Youth Build. We never fought against Crispus Attucks, although their record is abysmal also. If you look at theirs and look at the history of the kids that come out of there and the type of careers that they were supposed to be guided into and all, it's abysmal. But we sort of took the stance that this was a school that was providing a different opportunity, a second opportunity for students that had sort of failed in regular school. They were stuck out there. Usually, typically, it was older students, 17, 18 years old and all like that. And it was just something that provided the possibility of these kids finishing up education and getting, moving into another career. It's not really achieving that.
So on the topic of talking about academics, is this the biggest reason for New Hope closing?
I think it is, officially. But I think if it wasn't all the financial shenanigans that were going on, he might have got a better look. I think that financial mistakes, the financial finagling that was going on there, all the money's going to certain people, and the way the money was going, owning the buildings and sort of leasing it to yourself. My brother Kerry, he tells me that's the way they do in business and all like that, so he didn't have a problem with it. But I had a big problem. But I think if all that wasn't going on, he would probably still be in operation. I think that left a bad taste in many people in the community's mouth, especially when it was published how much money was going over there, how much money he was getting and all like that.
Apparently not enough people know.
Yeah. People, like I said, I put something on Facebook the other day, man. I'm just so frustrated with York, man. I ran for mayor back in '95 and all like that. I lost by 112 votes. Mm-hmm. And you know what? 2 out of 10 of black people and Latino people in this community came out to vote. Mm-hmm. And for the past almost 40 years, that's been our average, 20%. 2 out of 10 of the people that's registered. I mean, that's already that's eligible to vote, come out to vote. So as long as that happens, this stuff's not going to change around here politically and all like that, or economically, because these guys know. The feeling amongst the power boys downtown is that, look, these guys aren't going to vote. We could do what we want to do. And even if they do get mad, they're only going to stay mad for a week or two. They're going to get upset, gussing them out, you kill people, march, they rally a little bit. Give them a week or two, 3 at the most, and it's back to normal and all like that. And the boys' power, this guy used to sit on the structure down there with Better York and down in Louis and them guys. I helped create the baseball stadium and all because I was president of the board. As president of the board, you get to attend these things. You're sort of like locked into some of those positions and all like that. So I used to sit around a table and go up to the governor's office with them and see how they operate. And they can call the governor's office and say, look, we need this for this project here in York. We need that. And they get it because they got hooks and lines into these offices and all. Now, if it's something that empowered by the money boys, they call them movers and shakers. Yeah. Better York. You know about Better York? Better York. That's the top businessmen in the county. They meet and they the ones that set the agenda for what's happening and all. What programs get supported, which programs don't, and all. So all the top. Louis and Tom used to be the top boys on it. Louis Papel, Tom Wolf, and Art Gladfelder. Art died, but the organizations, man. I mean, if you were in there in the clique with them, Mike, for instance, Mike Smith, he runs the Temple Guard. They would give him money, to buy Jeep, cars, anything, stuff for his thing. Mike's doing a good job and all like that. But they'll support what they want, and they're the richest boys in town. They're the guys that put all the money up for Steve Stetler. Steve Stetler, the guy, Steve Stetler? You heard about him, the state legislator. He was in there before DePasquale and them. And he ended up getting busted and all. He was the guy that helped defeat me as running for mayor against Brenner. Steve Stetler brought his boys down from Harrisburg to work against me, to keep me out of the mayor's thing, because they knew I wasn't in control. And he ended up getting busted. He went to jail. He's ex-con now, lost his pension, lost everything. So he's going through the Supreme Court and stuff, trying to get it overturned. But I said, see that? That dirty stuff, it don't always work out. He used to take me to lunch. We used to go places and all like that with him and Mike Vion and the other legislators. Governor Rendell at the time. Rendell was a dastardly cat. One guy I did not like. He wasn't a people person. But he knew how to manipulate them politics and all like that. But Stetler, he's around town still. He was a big wheel. He was one of the guys that, they get the money and they decide what projects and all are supported in York. If you get community development block grants for fix up Princess Street, or if they want to give the Y $5 million and give them and let them fix up all these buildings, or give somebody else money, These are the guys, that's where the decisions are made for that. Better York, they meet once a month down at the Yorktown Hotel. They have a big meeting every 3 months down at the hotel where all our boys usually attend, and they set the agenda for what projects, what to go on. Okay, the Halloween parade's getting ready to stop, so we need somebody to step up and support the Halloween parade. Who's going to do it? Which one of us is going to do it? Louis, raise the I'll step up. I'll donate $250,000. We can keep it running. You know, I mean, it was that simple. These guys, they the money boys in town. Look at Better York. Them guys. I think Joe Wagner, Wagman Construction, is head of them now. He got his top boy, the guy. You ever hear a guy Eric Menser? Eric Menser is the head of the baseball right now. But Eric was the guy that was head of economic development before I came in as mayor, his city economic development. And he set up all these projects so where his boy Joe could take advantage of the money and stuff and get, the first dibs on all those projects and all. And then he went to work for Joe, running what Joe called his urban group. After he left out of the economic development department, that transitional door from doing government and private industry and all.
Right.
So Eric's a big wheel around town. Power, he got a lot to say. His son got killed in a sledding accident out there they lived out in there in Springdale. Mm-hmm. And after he got killed, Eric went to this boys, 10,000 Friends of Pennsylvania, the group I was a member of and all that. And they get donations to build that skate park out there. That's named for his son out there. Yeah, that's his son. That's how they do. I mean, if he wants something built to honor you, hey, my boys will donate. They donated about $450,000 to help Stepner pay off his legal bills and stuff and try to keep him from going to jail. They had to list in the paper all the boys that donated and everything, the movers and shakers.
Yeah. That's something. Back to New Hope. Once the school closed, this new school, the Kirkland, was open, and I guess it's a private school. Now, is this going to remain private or?
I'm sure it will, and I'm sure Isaiah's show you how slick, how much of a master he is at this marketing and all like that. Goodling is a name worth gold in Pennsylvania. Ex-governor and his wife. These guys like to honor, they like to leave legacies, and they like to honor themselves and their families and all. And somehow he got the okay to use Hilda Goodling's name in that school. And that don't happen by accident. They don't just let you use their names and all like that. Right. And I'm sure that he has some contacts. I don't know who they are, but it don't happen if he don't have contacts with those money people. And people that will provide him the scholarships necessary, to get the kids in there and to run that school.
That's very interesting.
I understand he's trying to recruit, and that's how he does it first, recruit ball players and all like that, to start it out because they're, popular people in the community and all. And you get a couple ball players in your school, some of the others, their boys are going to want to come over and all like that, and they tell them, how nice things are over there. But that was a thing that really puzzled me, man. How the hell, after all this controversy, could he get hooked up with the Goodling name? That's a trick there. I mean, you got to give that cat some credit.
Okay. At the charter presentation, they spoke a lot about broken homes and what they feel the community needs to fix. What do you feel is the biggest problem with the community's involvement in public schools? I mean, we touched on that.
Yeah, it's that lack of involvement. Many of the parents in our community, I don't know what the percentage is, but I reckon it's a pretty high percentage, themselves had a negative experience, in the public schools. And when I worked up there, when I was working at Hannah-Penn, I was taught for a few years up there and all. The kids would act out, and they go home and they tell the parents, and the parents, I guess, have a flashback to when a teacher disrespected them and all like that. And see it, damn it, that's what I said about them York City schools. I'm going up there and raise hell. And they raise up and all like that. So we got a lot of parents like that. And if you look at the school roles, my brother's teaching over at York High now, and he's been doing a little research project identifying disruptive students, troublemakers and all like that. You look back on their parents, you look at their roles and all like that, and you'll see that it's a generational thing and all. We need something, to break that. They had a program a while back, a parent involvement program. I think one of the ladies was Barb Markey. She worked at New Hope then. After that, she's probably one of his best parent contacts he had over at that school. Another one was Juanita Kirkland. They need something, to help where they could educate the parents, help them talk about these type of things, their feelings about the school, and try and get past that. Because we don't get any better parent involvement. You got the schools are easy to get into. When I used to work at some of these alternative schools, and I would try to get my other students back to Dover, for instance, or to West York, I had to go through a hell to get those kids in there. I had to have identification. I had to have people that be responsible. In New York, kids, they can come here and go to school, get enrolled in the school, and they're not necessarily from this community and all like that. And what that does, I have a bias against anybody from the community. What that does is many of them are disruptive and they don't have any oversight. But they might be living in a house with maybe their cousin or something, or their aunts or something. Is 4 or 5 or 6 of them in there, and they're disruptive, and it's no control, like that. I think that disruptive element in our schools really does a disservice. You got a 10% of the students disrupting 90% of the students' education, and there's no accountability, from home for those 10% of students.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna go to this next question. The current administration in the city has stayed neutral in all of this.
No. Wasn't she the one calling the school board president ignorant and different things, our current administrator, our mayor? And she's been very vocal in support. I'd like to get her response on what does she feel about the court's decision to respond to Isaiah. And she was very vocal, in support of Isaiah. And as a matter of fact, I think when they got their shutdown order, they had a big rally out front and she spoke out there. Okay. I thought, yeah, she spoke at their rally and all like that. She spoke at several things at New Hope. She was a major supporter, of New Hope. I think, check it out. Because I think it should be public now. I think she signed. Oh no, it wasn't to sign in for Hilda Good School. She wrote a letter for Isaiah. Remember when he was just trying to get another charter school, but when they did the investigation of it and all like that, his school came in last. As far as, so it didn't even get any chance. But she had a letter in his portfolio supporting him to get another charter school. So that administration, I don't know what's up with Kim down there.
I have ran into her.
She's only black in spirit. Black in color, in my opinion, and all like that, man. And she's resentful and all about a lot of things. Luckily, she won't be able to run again because I don't think she'd ever make it. There's a lot of bad feelings, in the black community with her and all like that. She had that big debacle out there at the church when they split up Shiloh Church. A Friendship Church with her and her mom and them. You read about that in the paper and all like that, where they had a big fight out there. Her mom, actual fisticuffs. What? And then her and another group tried to take over the church. They had to go to court, and the courts just came out just in February and ruled against her and her mom and them and the other group that tried to take over the court. They tried to hire one of their pastors. They locked the doors. They had chains. I got pictures here somewhere. The chains on the door out there at the church. She's part of that, Her mentor, my boy Bob Simpson, helped to get her down there. He groomed her. Kim ran, when we formed a group called the African American Political Roundtable. That's when we took over the school board and when I ran for mayor. That's when I ran for school board. It was the first time they ever had 4 people win the school board race. We took over the board then, and I became president and all. But she ran as part of our group. We had some people running for city council. She only lost by 12 votes that year. Tony Smith, we think, tricked her out of those because Tony Smith used to have absentee ballots that she carried with her and all like that, just in case she needed them, anywhere 30 to 50 absentee ballots. And we think that she bamboozled Kim out of that. But the way the Power Boys work around here, they could identify who has possible potential. And what they'll do is they'll try and grab that person. Oh, he's a charismatic young man and all like that. We might want to get him over here and groom him to fit our agenda before some of those radical boys and Kirkland guys or something get him and groom the radical agenda. So they groomed Kim. They gave her the job up there at South George Street Partnership, and groomed her down through there, took her downtown as economic development. Bob Simpson was pushing her for mayor. And she ended up getting the mayor thing, and he was in her corner. But the second time around, you saw here, he jumped ship. He was supporting Carol Hill Evans. He jumped off of his ship. I'd be interested to see what Bob said. I know why he did it, because he felt she was too far under the thumb of them guys downtown. But like that, but I'd like to see his response take it all like that. He probably won't get into nothing like that because those guys are too political and all now. They still have ambitions, I guess, of they need to be validated by the Power Boys, by the movers and shakers. I don't need that shit. Let him to let me know who I am and all like that.
Right.
To feel good.
Okay. Many of the staff will likely be replaced, and most of the students will not have an alternative if they're not accepted in these charter schools. Where will they just be kicked back to the high?
What do you mean from New Hope?
No, just for the charters
If the
itself.
full takeover happens,
Oh.
there's no alternative. Where do you think that the children will be placed?
You're saying if it goes full charter?
Right.
Oh, they'll have to go to the charters and all. And I think, another side thing, now I can't prove it, but it's diabolically, these boys, you see a lot of condos and all that they build around here. Downtown and stuff particularly. And they're trying to they bought a guy in from, you ever hear of the Heritage Foundation? Heritage Foundation is a right-wing think tank out of D.C. and all like that. The Koch brothers and all them guys funded and all. And they bought this guy in, the Community Foundation for their annual meeting back in May. And he was talking about how you build a city like York. And he said, you don't waste money spending on these neighborhoods out around the inner city, the core of the city. You build up that core of the city, build that up, baseball stadiums, restaurants downtown, and you bring people in from all over the county. And you want to bring what they call the new millennials in. That's the new guys. They used to call them the XY generation or the baby boomers. The new ones now, the new name is the millennials, the new millennials. And that's what they're trying to attract here in York. The technology-driven young guys and all people that work for these corporations and all, and they give them their jobs. One of the barriers to doing that is our schools, in the city. They don't want to move here because they don't want to put their young people coming up with young kids. They don't want to put their kids in the city schools. So these boys want to form these charters, and they want to make it look sort of like the U.S. makes it look like we freedom. Make it look like kids are going to get a chance to go to any of these schools. But some of those schools are going to be restricted. How do they restrict them? Same way they do at York Academy and all. If you have a certain number of infractions at the school, they ask you to kindly leave and go back to the city schools. You have a certain amount of infractions at one of their schools, they'll send you, well, we can't deal with you, we can't service you, you're going to have to go to XYZ charter over there. That way they screen out any of the behavior problems, any of the issues and all like that, and just have their kids there legally doing it and all like. They want control of the schools. They had a plan when we took over the board, a guy named Charlie Backus. Charlie Backus is the troubleshooter, they call him, for Better York. But when our black guys, when we took over that board, they got a contingency plan together. I know this because Pasquale told me about it. And the plan was that they were going to petition the state to take the power from this black board and give it to the mayor, John Brenner, like they did in Harrisburg. You know how they did in Harrisburg? They took the power from the school board and gave it to Reed up there. And he ran the schools. But we did such a wonderful job. We were on a failure list at that time. They called it the empowerment list at that time. The failing 12 or 13 failing schools in the state. Same schools that are failing now, all the urban districts, Chester, York, Harrisburg, Lancaster, and all. But we did a magnificent job, and the state gave us like $1.5 million to put in special programs and all. And we got off of that list, And then after we got off, these boys sort of, well, maybe them niggas ain't bad as I thought they were and all. Like, let's get them opportunity. And they put the plan on the shelf. But that plan is back in action now. They want to do. I talked to a guy downtown, businessman downtown. They're grooming right now 3 or 4 candidates to take over at the next election to take over that school board, and you'll see a change in that dynamics. They don't want this black board, running the schools and all like that. It's just like these boys are against Obama and all because you're black. These boys they just have no respect for you here and all that. Me and my brothers got master's degrees. My youngest brother was a top high level executive for GTE, $400,000 a year and all like that for 20 years and all. He couldn't get a job here in York. He came back here to York to live, and we went out. We petitioned to get a placement on the planning commission, and it was a position open, and they didn't give him the position. They gave it to somebody else, and I went down and raised hell down at the commissioner's office. How could you not? This guy was a top planner for a Fortune 500 company, born and raised in York. And they tell him, look, you've been away from here for 20 years, so you don't know what's going on, and you probably aren't familiar with the problems here. Lori Metrick, she was head of county commissioners at that time. I raised hell down to me. They had a big article in the paper about it and all that. And they gave him that damn excuse. The planning commission is another piece of what, deciding what goes on around here. These housing projects and all those type of things that go on. But I lost my train of thought there. I was trying to make a point there, but I forgot what it was, and I know he's trying to think about it. It's a lot of stuff that goes on, man.
So let's pinpoint the special education and the ELS programs. Like with Isaiah, he kind of used that to his advantage, where he wasn't supposed to. But from here on out, what do you see with these problem children? What do you think these guys want to do?
Well, that's one of the big drains, and like you say, Isaiah, the New Hope, they could use it to your advantage because the state gives up more dollars, for special ed if you're designated special ed. I always had a problem with it and all like that. I know there were kids that were special ed and all but I think if the curriculum and things are adjusted, those kids could be educated. They had a movement at one time where they called mainstreaming. Those kids, instead of keeping them all together in a special ed class, they mainstream a few of them into regular classes, not overwhelming the class. You might put 2 in here, 2 in there, and give them a chance to pull themselves up along with the rest of the people, rather than just designating them as special ed. I think that mainstreaming piece would probably be a little better. Also, they might need to do, I thought, some special schools. If it necessarily have to be charter schools, it could be magnets. They got magnet schools in some places. I went and saw some in New York and all like that. Kids that are gifted in a lot of areas, whether it's talent in musical, talent in technology. You try and get them and use those type of things to pull them out of there. Again, it goes along with the poverty here in our community, because many of the parents, again, we're not fault free. Many parents find out that you get special ed designation, you can get a check and all disability checks and all like that. I always was of the opinion that those checks should have went to help pay for rectifying the student issues, improving the student issues, where most of the time they don't. The parents get those, and you hear the kids talking about, man, I'm getting a check, a check coming this time. I had kids in my alternative school, they were saying, man, my goals and aims, what do you want to do and all like that. They want to, have me a couple babies, I can get a couple checks and all, and just lay and do that. Or, I'll go work at McDonald's and, I had young girls, one of the brightest girls I had, and her mother, and I grew up with her mother's family and all. Lived over in Cador's Project. Beautiful young lady and bright. But her mother had probably 7 girls, all of them in alternative ed and everything. And she ended up, right now, she's probably 22 at the most, and she got 3 little girls herself now, but it's just like a self-fulfilling prophecy here. It's diabolical the way poverty saps your will and your drive and all that, and you're willing to just settle, for less around. So I don't know the answer, to motivate the rest of the people. Right. I mentor and try and do kids and individually, but it's just such a big job just to uplift everybody and try to pull everybody along, But, you see young men like yourselves and all like that. And these guys got a men's group now stepping up, and all those guys, the more you touch. My brother Eric bought an idea back from Texas, from GTE, and we floated that around to a lot. We talked with Tom Wolf, Stetler, the county commissioners, and gave them part of the proposal. We wanted to form a group, and actually he modified it and is trying to get it started in the school district now. And we want to form a group of, a group of young men to be like positrons in the community. Mentor them in leadership skills, understanding the social ills, start developing solutions to these social ills so they could be mentors to their own. It was sort of like a cadre of youth within the youth, so they could talk to the other youth and bring them up, to sort of counter that deadly effect out of that drug culture and all, and we just never got that going and all like that. These guys saw it, and I just always thought they didn't really want to see the success and all like that. We wanted to get this building and open up a technology center down here on Princess Street. He's talking with Dr. Holmes now, and hopefully it'll be instituted at this time, and that's what the program is going to be on. It's a project-based education. The kids start looking at what problems we have here in the community, and part of your lessons will be researching You know, how do we solve these problems? You know, another part of it was knowledge of self. Knowledge of self is a key, and building a family tree. And through building that family tree, you're learning all the skills you need. You're learning research. You're learning science. You know, of genomic science. You're learning math. I mean, putting everything together by just doing these projects and all. Right. Giving the kids, you know, something that, you know, really keep them focused and passionate about learning and all. They're really learning and doing something rather than just going in and doing rote, you know, and about a mimeograph sheets and doing work off of, you know, just to be busy sheets and all like that.
Right. Oh, I've seen a lot of that, and it's funny because I'm only 2 years here in York, but coming from Philadelphia, I mean, even my situation where there was a fight or whatever that broke out my first year in high school, and I was immediately shipped into an alternative school, CEP, and that was exactly what you said, stuff to keep us busy, computer, just brain dead work. I said I'd rather go to jail. This is like jail, you know what I mean? So luckily I hooked up with a principal at one of the more diverse schools, and you know, she got me in this setting, and I was like perfect attendance. I got accepted all my college, you know what I mean? So having met him and we tackling this, you know, very passionate about it, but also at the same time it's got to be something we can do, and that's why we're gonna put this together so that this piece is available to people. You know, it's gonna be live and direct, like this is what's going on. You know, you could do your own research. Right. You know what I mean? But sometimes I think about, because there's a lot of articles floating around today, there's even blogs and websites about how not only us, but even rich white kids, they're getting these educational degrees and masters, and there's no work. You know what I mean? So to a point, me personally, I'm thinking like, is it set up for everybody to be successful, or you know what I mean? Is it set up where some people have to settle for less? You know what I mean? And you know, in the event that everybody was wanting to be successful and do better, make more, where would they? You know what I mean? Where do you go to make more? You know, so that's something that I personally question myself. Like, is it realistic?
Well, you know, in our society, capitalist society, man, it's like that. You know, they got to have, you know, the worker bees and you know, this other thing, you know. Yeah, sometimes the system is, you know, it just gets caught up in that thing. But the thing is, we have so much knowledge now. You know, you read books about Kunjufu and those guys, the conspiracy to destroy black boys and all, and you got that thing in there called the fourth grade failure syndrome. You can see it right before your eyes because you look at our test scores in the schools. Up until fourth grade, these kids are dynamic, you know, and they're reading and all on level and all like that. From fourth grade on, every year it goes down, and all, like, you know. So it's sort of systemic. That's why I keep saying in these talks that I give at these rallies and stuff, it's not just York and all or whatever. It's something with the educational system, because all across the state in black schools and all that. And it's not because black kids are dumber, you know, or Latino or what, you know, they're not dumber and all. You know, it's just you guys, for instance, this could be. I mean, our kids are so interested in this technology behind cameras, tradition, this filmmaking, you know, documenting things. That's the kind of classes, I mean, that would turn kids on and on. Through that, you can't just go right behind the camera. You got to learn about stuff to do and all like that. All those are lessons and all like that. They getting ready to start an after-school program, I think, in January. Those are the type of programs. You guys should be running a class here. They be paying you, you know, to run the classes for the kids and all, and doing those type of things and bringing them up and making. They had one of the best music arts department. You see that department they got in your high there? Musical arts, it's hardly even used. I mean, it was built. We built it and all, like when I was on the board.
What's this guy name?
It's not even hardly used and all like that. I mean, they got the film. Calvin Weir used to run it for a while, and he was incorporating a lot of kids into it.
I'll be meeting him later this week.
Yeah.
There's another name. He supposedly taught the people from the Loud Band their music. I forgot this guy's name. I just met him.
Oh yeah, Don Karn.
Yeah. Yeah,
we grew up together over on Cador's project and all like that.
So
Don.
is he running that?
He's great. No, Don, he's a music teacher in the school district.
Okay, but he don't have access to the stuff you talk.
Oh yeah. To the room, the music, music department. He's probably with the biggest will. Him and Miss one white lady, Miss Michael Buchanan. Yeah, they're probably the two top music people. But Don, yeah, he's you know, highly involved. He's a world class violinist and bass player and all that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I was telling him last week I was doing some photography and stuff on the parking lot tops and stuff, and I was walking through downtown and I saw Kim Bracey,
Mm-hmm.
and I introduced myself to her and I asked her if I could have her run her time. She obliged and told her what we were working on here, and her response was that it's best to stay out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't want people. You know, you keep people, you know, out and under the know. You know, and you don't get people. People won't act. You got to almost do something to get people riled up, though. Like you say, right in your face, you know, like that. Here it is, and all. And they like it like that. I mean, they'll subvert the vote. You know, during certain elections, you'll see that's why 20% of people come out. They don't want to really talk about the issues or get anybody riled up. You know, because they might wake people up and then get to do something. This type of thing will do that. People see it because a lot of people are visual. You could talk and, you know, people hear the talking, but once they see something, they say, damn, it's here in York?
Yeah.
Oh, like, you know, it's,
They don't want to read. They'll see
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
It's something completely different, but yeah.
yeah.
It might have been in front of their face the whole time, but until they actually, see it.
Yeah, Kim, I mean, it was just a tragic thing, man, being the first black mayor in York. And, you know, performing like she did, you know. I mean, no, you hardly heard anything from her on issues facing our community and all. I mean, it's almost had to drag her out to say something when Gus got killed. Finally, after all them killings during the time she was in. Fine, you get, you know, man, she's a manager. There's managers and there's leaders and all like that. And Kim was more of a manager and all, and she just wanted to do whatever the Better York or Moving Shakers, whatever their projects were. She'll go to HUD, make sure they got money to do them projects downtown, and forget about the rest because she don't have to be responsive to us. You know, what could we do for her? Right. Now, especially at this time, and if she's on her second term, you know, you can't. Talk is she's going to get a thing, and I don't like it. You know, that she's going to get an appointment from Tom Wolf when he wins, you know, and just move out here, go to Harrisburg. And we'll see if that happens or not. But she's been campaigning for him and all, so I expect it to happen. Some people, man, they get to the point, you know, they just don't care. I mean, I got mine, you know. I ain't giving about you guys and all like that, you know.
It's funny. So, developing this documentary or whatever, a lot of stuff is based around Isaiah and his doings, but
it's a good way to focus.
It is.
And then you broaden out all these other issues you have opportunity to broaden out on and all like that.
As a backup, what would you suggest? You know, if we didn't want to directly target him, like what would be something else that would grab people's attention besides him? Because we're gonna hit him with the fact of what he did, the numbers of charter schools, but what would be something else that would?
Yeah, you know, so I don't know, because some things are not readily transferable to this. You know, when you talk about, you know, the dollars that were spent here in York, you know, it's a whole big story about that voting process here.
Right.
You know, the lack of participation in that. You know how that reflects back on all of this type of thing.
Right.
Just those numbers I just gave you about the voting, man. Over the last 40 years, only 20% of eligible voters. Why aren't people voting? Why aren't the young guys? We have voting registration campaigns. You know, we'd register 1,000 people. You know, and 200 of them people might come out and all. Like they're rallied up while we talking with them, and we hit them with all this kind of stuff. And yeah, we're going to be out there, Kirk, man. We're going to, you know, do something. And don't show, you know, the apathy. You know, and I mean just that question you just asked me. What are one of the issues? I think I'd like to see a little. I'd like to see a little production on that. Just, you know, street, guerrilla street. They asking people these questions. You know, and do a little video montage of what people think, you know, the issues are, how to solve these issues and all, and see what you get on that.
So, alternatively, if everybody was on one accord and was just against charter, would that just automatically shut it down, or does it go through the state, like you said, like how they forced it in? Would they be able to force it in with all the parents?
Well, according to the Act, what is Act 147, whatever that is that they have, that they're under the distressed school district. I think it's 147.
Okay.
says that if the school board, once they set up the plan and they got bamboozled into going setting up this plan, because our school board really is not that sophisticated, and when they sent Meckley down here, let's put together this plan, and we're going to do a version whereby we're going to go all charters, and we're also going to do a version whereby the school will pick themselves up and let's do it from an internal improvement. And they knew that wasn't going to happen in a certain amount of time, but Meckley's just smiling the whole time because he knows it's only a matter of time before this part fails because they're pulling out resources and making it so those guys could fail. But anyway, once you approve that plan, you're locked in legally from the state point of view. And if you don't go along with the plan now, they can come in and take over and appoint Meckley as the head of all the schools. What they call I forgot the word they use for it, but somebody to come in and just take over and run the schools. And that's what my next door neighbor over there, Mike, he's vice president of the board, Mike Miller, that's what he's definitely afraid of. I said, you don't want to go down as one of the people that gave our city to the for-profit charters. And he said, well, I'm afraid, he said, if I don't vote for it, they're going to come in and take us over anyway. I said, that's bullshit. They're not going to take over another school district. They took over about 3 or 4 school districts, Chester, stole rocks out in Pittsburgh area and Harrisburg, and they got worse after the state took them over. The state's not looking to take over any other schools because they don't have the solutions. They could get the solutions and all like that, but I think on a higher plane, macro level, the education is political, education is powerful. And it's not only in York and all like that, where blacks and Latinos are all having trouble. You said earlier, everybody can't be educated.
Right.
Because if it is, these boys got to share a little more. They can't have all this greed and everybody, one group of people getting all this.
Right.
Now they got to share the wealth.
Right.
These motherfuckers do not want to share the wealth. Excuse me, language. I should have said that.
There's a higher power.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this shit this fits in. You know, a lot of people in Europe, they don't understand the macro level of this whole piece and all like that. And I don't try to get into it with them and all like that, but this conspiracy to destroy black boys, I mean, that's not an isolated incident. This stuff it's a program they got going on out here. You know about COINTELPRO and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. FBI's program, counterintelligence, all that they continually still running and all It's a big process.
Yeah,
But you guys are doing a good thing, man. You know, anytime information, man, like that, and especially real information.